Okay, good evening, everybody. Today is October 11th. This is the TAPS committee meeting starting at 6 p.m. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Chair will bring us through the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance like the States of America. Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, roll call. Committee members Ben Doyle.
I'm here.
Thank you. Chair Dunham Sims.
Present.
Committee member Moriarty.
I'm here.
Committee member Oliver Collins.
Present.
Thank you. And item number 3 is approval of minutes for September 13th TAPS meeting. If anybody has any comments or revisions to the meeting, please let me know. Or if not, please make a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. A second.
Second.
Thank you. Committee member Doyle.
That's me.
Thank you. This confirming the roll call for the all 4 of you again.
Again? Okay, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still here.
Okay.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. You're approving the minutes. So just
Oh.
approve.
Oh, okay. I
Okay.
get it now.
Okay. Dunham Sims.
Yes.
Collins.
Aye.
Moriarty.
I'll abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, committee member reports. Does any committee member have anything to report?
I do. I went and walked the area around Man Drive and Appian to help get a better understanding of what the drop-off and pickup situation looks like. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I did a little bit of research and on-the-ground checking.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? Okay.
Yeah, I've been talking to people that drive that area, and it's the reports I've been getting is that people tend to just parallel park or park in the lane, waiting for the gate to open or waiting for their kid to come out of school. And so cars stuck behind them are forced to either drive opposite direction of traffic in the other lane or U-turn. And that's been the chief complaint I've heard since our last discussion.
Yeah. I mean, double parking have been that issue, and I believe our police PD have been trying to help, but yeah. Okay. I'm going to move to item number 5, citizens to be heard. This is for agenda items not on the agenda. I see one virtual participant. Is there any? Okay. Any citizens to be heard on these items? Do you have anything on that? Thank you. Okay. Dave, can you please let virtual participant speak? Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, my name is Anthony, a longtime Pinole senior citizen and taxpayer. of the city. I just wanted to follow up on a couple things. Can one of you or Director Mishra tell me if the build out on Tenant Avenue and Plum and Pear is finished, completed? Because I didn't see any notation anywhere that it's 100% completed, and it doesn't look like it's completed to me as what the city council agreed to, with us committing $110,000 for a Band-Aid, which it looks like, for just a few cones and some white striping along those two intersections, and some yellow paint sidewalks there. So can you go into some detail on that and whether the contractor has fulfilled what was supposed to be done there? And I don't know, it looks incomplete and the yellow cones look temporary. Secondly, I wanted to know, I haven't heard back from your office, Mr. Mishra, or the mayor's office, or the city manager or staff's office from almost a month ago now, when City Mayor Murphy requested that they give us a report back on what's being done on the major guardrail demolition accident out above Pinole Valley Road, across the street from Ellerhurst School, and part of the bridge also, and the concrete part of the bridge railing, safety railing, was damaged next to the fire station there on that semi-hairpin corner before you get to the Pinole Valley Park. Nothing has been done. They didn't put any warning signs there or temporary orange bumper guards or anything. So, you know, it's just another accident or lawsuit waiting to happen for the city of Pinole, and to not protect the citizens of Pinole on the streets along that busy corridor, which somebody was speeding, obviously, and took out that wall. The other thing I wanted to say, was it Caltrans, or thanks to the city of Pinole, that did some of the nice restriping jobs along the major ingress-regress intersections by Pinole Valley Road there, and maybe a few other parts of the city. I was just curious because they did a good job on that. And why can't all our crosswalks look like that with the bold orange, yellow paint? Does someone have to die like on Tennant and Plum, and we have to spend $100,000 or get Caltrans to do it for us? All the crosswalks should look like that, as well as bolding out those speed bumps the same way, rather than those small arrow sharrows over there. And there's still light outages up and down Pinole Valley Road and San Pablo Avenue, and we'd like an account for who's going to check those by streetlight lampposts in the middle of the arterial there. And we can't keep passing it off to be done and checked twice a year, or ask our citizens to be liable to go into the medial strip at night or late during the day to go copy a poll number off that and blame it on PG&E or AT&T. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wei Ping Kong. I'm a parent of West County Mandarin School, which happens to be co-located with Pinole Middle School. And I'm curious to learn more about what are some near future plans in terms of traffic congestion and safety measures you have planned. So just as an example, right now, like a lot of times during the morning drop-off as well as the afternoon pickup, there are only some yellow temporary cones to prevent cars from turning left. And as you know, depending on their direction, I feel like it's sort of a temporary Band-Aid solution. So that's one thing I like to bring up. Another concern I have is a lot of times people are jaywalking, and that could be a safety, hazard as well. What if the parents are in a hurry and as you know, they're easily distracted by, digital phones, devices, and whatnot. So it'd be great if perhaps there is a crosswalk that could be maybe, in between, like where it's kind of a little hard for me to explain, but there's a gate towards the middle of Man Drive where cars typically turn into the school itself. So I think it'd be good if there was some sort of like a crosswalk, even if it's just stripes drawn, like painted on the road to make it obvious that that is a safe pedestrian crossing. So that'd be great if that could be implemented. And of course, there is a zone that should be designated for the school bus to let the kids, drop off and then on to get on and off. So those are just some suggestions that are top of mind. And I'm kind of curious to know if feedback like this has been shared with you previously, and what are the timings and initiatives and planning on implementing some of these safety measures. And if you have any ideas on ways to alleviate the congestion during those peak hours of, drop off and pick up, that's, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, would you like me to start?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, hey, my name's Renato Castro. I have lived in Terra Hills now for about 10 years. And thank you for, giving the public an opportunity to hear how decisions are made and how, it's just good to know that you guys are looking out for something. I'm calling in about Terra Hills Drive. I live on the intersection of Terra Hills and Kildare. 9 years ago, actually, when we first moved in, I got home, there were police cars and news vans. And when I turned on the TV, there was a news report that called that intersection the most dangerous intersection in the Bay Area. And, they showed a bunch of accidents that happened at that intersection. It's right next to Shannon Elementary School. After that, the city put up a speed meter that would show people how fast they're going. Honestly, it feels like people use that as an opportunity to show how fast you could go. Since then, the roads continue to deteriorate. The lines on the crosswalk are very difficult to read. My kids, a lot of kids in the neighborhood have trouble crossing that intersection during school hours because it's so dangerous. In fact, I've just started an Instagram literally yesterday called Make Terra Hills Drive Safer. You can follow it, or I'll start posting video clips of people just running the intersection all the time. There's no more speed reader there anymore. And honestly, even if we had a speed reader, I really do think physical barriers to actually slow traffic at that intersection are necessary. Literally, it shouldn't be called Terra Hills Drive. It should be called Terra Hills Expressway. It's a 4-lane highway in a residential zone. And there doesn't need to be that much speedy traffic through this residential area. So I'd like to know what the process is as far as making this an agenda item for you guys in the future. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is post things on this Instagram, encourage my neighbors and other citizens to be aware of the dangers of Terra Hills Drive. It's been like this for almost a decade now. People get hit, animals get hit, cars get into accidents. It's a huge chunk of the Pinole population lives there. It should be a place where people can live, work, play, walk, bicycle. And I'd just like to bring this up to the committee, and I look forward to attending future meetings and providing more information for everybody in the future with my Instagram, make Terra Hills Drive safer. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Bardenhagen. I am a proud Pinole Middle School parent. My son is in 8th grade. I'm very concerned about drop off and pickup, and I'm very curious on what traffic study results have shown. I'm most curious if that entry point was ever designed for 2 schools. Right now, there is actively 2 schools with almost a population of over 800 students. I've looked at the enrollment for both Mandarin and PMS. I looked back at correspondence between the district for the last 10 years. It looks like at one point they were looking at that capacity at Pinole Middle. So maybe that makes sense, but I'm just so curious, like in previous years before Mandarin came on site, was traffic ever this bad? Was it ever an issue? The other parent who spoke, oh my gosh, so many close calls. I've seen kids running in and out of the streets, adults, U-turns, so many scary close calls I've seen. I drive very slowly. I'm very alert. I'm not on my phone. And I've even had close calls. What is it going to take to figure out a solution? There's a gigantic parking lot there that is inaccessible to almost everyone. Can't we open that up somehow? Literally no one is in it. It's right to the side, but the school was not designed to access that parking lot. So is there a possibility for future kids? You know, my daughter's going to be going there. I don't think this problem is going to be solved by the time she comes next year. So I would love to know, like, what's the information? What is the traffic study? What is the traffic compared to 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? The school has been there for decades. This can't be a new problem, or is it? I would just love information so there can be a solution. But I definitely think that that dead parking lot of space is a solution. I'm just curious if anyone has looked into that. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
This is Kent. I don't know if there's more people that wanting to speak, but I wonder if we should. It's great to have the Man Drive comments, but this is something that's on the agenda towards the end, and I wonder if we should just focus on citizens to be heard for items that aren't on the agenda, and then focus on the Man Drive, which is on the agenda when we get to the end of to that part of the meeting.
Dave, please let.
Hi, my name is Annabelle. I'm parent of West County Mandarin School. We attended the last TAPS meeting sometimes in August, and we are very thankful that you came back with some plans. So I'm just trying to reiterate the danger and the overcrowding of all the traffic on Man Drive. And we are hoping that we can see 2 raised crosswalks on each side of the parking lot gate with flashing lights. And hopefully the flashing lights will be activated when the students are crossing, so that we can prevent the students from jaywalking. And, you know, every morning cars are speeding past Man Drive, and the students are in a lot of danger, including the families. So I'm hoping we can see more changes and more signage too on Man Drive. I'm surprised that there is, I believe we do not have like a school zone sign on Man Drive. And yeah, thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Okay. Just gonna move on. Second. Okay, I'm just going to go to the next item. That's traffic and safety issues submitted by citizens. There was no issues that we received in the last month via email. So I would just go over some of the updates of a list of issues that we had previously. There's no update on this page. We're still working on the Wright Avenue and Carroll to receive some of the feedback from the residents. So the crosswalk at Tenant and Pear and Plum Street, that work is completed. This is just to answer the questions of a resident, probably under public comment. Yes, the project is complete, and yes, it may look like there's nothing much is done, but that is what the project scope was, to provide a rapid flashing beacon at the Pear Street and complete high visibility crosswalk at the two intersections with the bollards, the temporary bollards. So we are working on obtaining few codes for the trip hazard at the creek side and right next to the Sarah Court pedestrian bridge there, which would be actually, we'll be paving that portion of the trail path which was requested by the TAPS committee earlier. So we're pretty close to getting that contract. This is number 10, also same thing. We're actually working with a couple of concrete contractors, and we have received quotes for a ADA ramp to be built from Sarah Court. There are no other updates on this one from the last meeting. No updates on this page. And this is the issues that we have decided to keep a separate note for Caltrans right away. Item number 7.
Okay, I had
Other comments?
can I ask a quick question about number 6?
Yes.
I think it's great that we have that spreadsheet, that it kind of helps us keep track of issues and they don't get lost. And these are mostly things that have been brought up by citizens. That's what the
That's
number
correct.
6 is. And I was just wondering, I mean, obviously, every little thing that gets brought up can't make it to that list, or you'd have an unwieldy list. And I was just wondering, how do things kind of rise to the level of that list? I was thinking about that while we had that call. I think his name is Renato Castro, talking about Terra Hills and Kildare. We've never talked about that here that I'm aware of. And I just wonder, like, what advice do we have for somebody that wants something like that to get on the list? Should they, like, maybe start with that traffic calming? There's that document that is now in the.
Yes.
Start with that, and then maybe get some neighborhood signatures, and then maybe send an email. Is that kind of the level of engagement that would be appropriate for something like that to get on that list? Because I don't want someone to feel like they bring things up and then it never makes that list and they don't really know how to get to that point.
Yeah, I usually, most of the requests I receive, I put on the list. But if it is a very small, if it's a maintenance issue, then I don't put it on the list. Either it would be taken care by the operation and maintenance. But if it is something that we need to work on, is there is a little traffic component to it, then I try to put it on the list. And if it can be done or not, that's a different issue. But I try to put it on the list. As the speakers said, so now it is recorded, it's part of this meeting. So I will put it on the list. Usually I get the emails, and that's the best way for me to really keep track of it. And that's how I list it. But providing that feedback in this meeting is also another way to list it. It doesn't mean that it'll get done right away or nothing, but it'll get to the list. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to item number 7, staff updates. And just one CIP project that is currently ongoing. After quite a bit of suspension for this project, we had actually started this construction, this project. So right now the traffic signal poles are already been installed. Construction is ongoing at this intersection, and we hope to complete this project by end of this month. So go ahead.
I had a CIP comment, but did you have a
Go ahead.
comment about this?
Thank you. I just wanted to see if we could have somebody from the city talk to the foreman out there and ask them. They've been driving equipment across Appian back and forth without a flag person or anything like that, and people are forced to brake pretty heavily when the backhoe drives across Appian and back and forth, and there's no flagmen out there, and they should have somebody when they're crossing the road like that, just to make sure that everyone's safe passing through there.
Okay, thank you.
I had just a general CIP project, a comment. I'm always bringing up that bottleneck on Pinole Valley Road, westbound between Shea and Helena, where the lane gets suddenly very narrow. And the answer has always been that there's an open CIP project, RO 1708, Pinole Valley Road improvements. And I think that's absolutely the right time to address it. And I'm not pushing that it happen any faster. But I just noticed when I look in the CIP and I see that item, it just talks about a slurry seal. There's no mention of addressing that bottleneck. And I was hoping that that verbiage could just be added in there, because I'm worried if it's not, it's going to be forgotten about. So if next time, I think every quarter the CIP gets updated, I wonder if we could just insert something in there about this is the opportunity to address that issue, just so it's recorded where it should be.
Yeah, the CIP will get status updates, but the CIP will get updated only during the next. The whole document doesn't get updated because every fiscal year we only do one CIP. But description of that we can, internally we can do that.
Okay.
But it won't be republished until the next
Okay.
fiscal year.
Yeah, if we could just add a little note in there so it's not forgotten.
Yeah. Okay, we can do that. Okay, development projects. Currently, we do not have any projects under review, but as the link shows here, public or TAPS members can actually view any future projects or ongoing projects at the link. Active transportation plan. I believe some of the TAPS members and a lot of citizens are actually have attended the CEC meetings that was held recently, and our staff also helped and distribute the flyers during the National Night Out. And we are working with the consultant to have few workshops scheduled. We just today we finalized the dates for some of the workshops and pop-up events. So October 28th, we're planning to have the pop-up event at the Trader Joe's, and November, the next Saturday, I believe November 1st, I think November 4th. 4th is we're going to be doing the pop-up with the consultant at the farmers market. And future meetings also will be announced pretty soon.
I had a comment about that. It sounds like it's already been addressed.
Yes. Is it the number of pop-up? Yes.
Okay.
We took care of that.
Okay. So the National Night Out is
not counted as.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I was just worried about the city being shortchanged in that way. Thanks.
Thank you. Item number 7 under grants. We do not have any update for grants this time around. Any future agenda items committee member would like to request?
Maybe an update on looking into the sidewalks on 4th Street between San Pablo Avenue and whatever the first street uphill from there is.
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, can we put Terra Hills and Kildare
Yeah.
to look at that? Maybe just, look at photos of the intersection and the area and just
Just
get
okay.
get a feel
Sense
for
of
what's going on.
Okay.
I wonder if maybe sometime what we could do, we have this long list, and we don't always want to just be responding to the most recent thing. I wonder if this group should like go down that long list and kind of prioritize and say, what are the things that are the most important? And then put those on our agenda, just so we are addressing the most important things on that list, and that some of the older things that haven't been brought up recently don't get forgotten. Just to prioritize what we address here.
I would agree with that. I think that some of the complaints that are brought up involve enforcement and driver behavior, not necessarily roadway issues or that stuff. And I think that if we tear it out and say that, there's an educational campaign or social media posts about driving on Terra Hills and in that area and stopping and things like that, and then we can get the police department to conduct a little bit of enforcement or at least presence out there and see if that improves stuff. But there are items I think on our to-do list that really have engineering components to it. Other of them have enforcement and education. And if it'd be nice to get someone from the police department to come talk to us about that and the possibilities of that, or if there's a complaint log where they do enforcement on areas where there's complaints. I don't know if they do that or not, but I think I agree we should prioritize the list, but I think we should also tier it out to the ones that are engineering versus enforcement and education.
I think that's a great idea. We used to always have a police officer present at our TAPS meetings. I wonder if we could get a commitment for a police officer to be present, and we could, that evening on the agenda, we could focus on items that are enforcement and education related and kind of get the police department response or input for one of our meetings in the future.
Right, and feedback on how it went last period. And I know they have equipment that will track speeds and give us, when there's speeding complaints, for example, on Pinole Valley over by Pinole Valley Park, and that speeding vehicles over there and around the high school. And feedback like that would be good for us to be able to share with the community, I think.
Okay. Okay. I will send a request to our police chief and see if they can have somebody come to the next meeting. Okay. Okay. So, okay, we're going to go ahead to the Mon Drive improvement workshop. I will have our consultant Robert Stevens here, who would present us the improvements that we have come up with after discussing, after our meeting with the residents and stakeholders in the school. I will go ahead and start the presentation. And Okay, Robert, Mike, can you check it? Thank you.
Testing, testing, testing.
Okay.
I guess this one works too. Okay, I'll just use it. Good evening, commission members. Thank you for having me here this evening, and thank you, members of the public, for being here. I see some of you from our meeting last month, so it's great that we're all here again tonight. My name is Robert Stevens. I'm a civil and traffic engineer with the firm CSW. We're based in Richmond. Happy to be here and happy to be helping. So next slide, please. So as we've heard this evening, and as we've heard in the past, there is some concerns related to both congestion and safety at the schools on Man Drive. And it's really related to kind of the peak periods and the AM pickup and or the AM drop off and the PM pickup. Now, our focus area was really directly in front of the schools on Man Drive, as well as at two intersections, because what we heard is that it's not just isolated to the drop-off and loading zone. The issues and the concerns extend beyond those periods, those points. Next slide, please. So late July was a great meeting. We had a lot of folks out and they gave a lot of great comments. Now, I haven't captured every one of the comments. There's actually a great memo that we've prepared that summarizes these, but I think these were the highlights that I took from it. And I forgive if I missed anything. I'd love somebody to remind me if I missed something. But I think the one thing I took from it, and I think this is something that I hear in communities throughout the Bay Area, is that we all seem like we're in a rush. We have to get someplace. We're not paying attention, and that some motorists really are exhibiting some really bad behavior. And when we're dropping our children off, some are really rushing around, and they're just not really paying attention to what's around them. This mid-block, as we heard from a commenter, really needs to be improved. This crossing really needs to be enhanced. It really needs to be visual. It needs to be safe. We need to do whatever we can to focus the attention on children crossing at that location. As I said, our traffic concerns are beyond just Man Drive. And I think this was another good point, is that if we were to put full-time no parking around the school, that really kind of encumbers the neighborhood. It's not really fair to do that to the residents along Man Drive, especially because this problem exists for 45 minutes in the morning and afternoon. And I think we heard from some folks that actually work for the school, that actually help the operations there. I think, in my opinion, they seemed a bit overwhelmed, but boy, it sure would be great if we could get the school district to have some professional folks there to help monitor the loading and the drop off. And I think a lot of folks there at the meeting agreed with that. Unfortunately, our existing traffic delineators that the city's put out there are just not respected. They're too small to actually help kind of guide traffic. But yet, because we have to put them out there, we can't have big, heavy things because we need something that's manageable. And I think another good point is that would there be a way that we could stagger school start times so that maybe there wasn't that large impact of students arriving and leaving? Next slide, please. So we talked a little bit about the 3 E's: education, engineering, and enforcement earlier today. I think the key issue here is that we can engineer something, but it's not going to be super effective if we don't have an enforcement and really a strong education campaign. And in my experience at school sites, that this is really, really key. We really need a partner in the school to work with the student population to educate them about the expectation related to student loading and unloading. And there needs to be an operational component because, signs and delineators and stripes don't really do anything if there's not somebody there to help people sort of work through that. But I'd like to walk through some ideas we had to help maybe improve situations along the corridor. So we know now that there's a lot of parents driving on Man Drive, and they're dropping the students off across the street. So this exhibit here is showing us right across the street from the school, and we're showing the cars parking adjacent to the sidewalk there, and we're showing in yellow the path that students would walk to and from school. And there would be a no parking zone striped, I guess, on the northeast side across from the school. There'd be no parking from in the morning and in the afternoon on school days to sort of help facilitate that loading and unloading. Not only that, but we would add additional signage consistent with the manual uniform traffic control devices for school zone areas. We would add a really bold edge stripe to really kind of focus and to narrow the travel lanes. It would really give us that visual appeal that we have a 10-foot wide lane that vehicles are in. And then we're going to put this raised parking lane separator down the center portion of the street. And as you can see, I think as a commenter mentioned, this entrance into the school is the existing main pathway that's right near the driveway that enters the campus. That's where the crosswalk would be. Next slide, please. So you can see this is a blow up of the crosswalk. It is a mid-block crosswalk. The idea would be that it's raised to the same elevation as the sidewalk. You can see the photograph there on the right. Vehicles would have to slow, and they would have to go up, and then they have to go down on it. There would be rectangular rapid flashing beacons that would be activated by students and parents as they cross the street. Next slide, please. Oh, and the road would be physically neck down. You can see in the image on the right where we would bulb out into the street to physically narrow the corridor there. Next slide, please. So here, these bright yellow lines in the center of Man Drive would be these raised lane separators. And you can see a photograph in the right of an example of those. There's a lot of different versions of them, but you can see these things can be struck by a car and they pop back up, but they really kind of prevent vehicles from making left turns and doing illegal movements we don't want to see. They also don't have to be put in place. They can be placed there and operated. I'd like to draw your attention to there are some separations in the raised lane separators. That's to accommodate the driveways for the properties that are opposite of the school. So the idea would be to narrow those up sufficiently so a vehicle a property owner could navigate that, but hopefully vehicles wouldn't be taking illegal U-turns or other illegal maneuvers there. Next slide, please. So at Amend Street and Man Drive, we heard some concerns that folks were making U-turns there. So the idea here is to do raised lane separators in the center line of the street, as well as adjacent to the edge of Man Drive to physically make it very difficult to be able to make that U-turn in the middle of the intersection. That's not going to stop somebody from making a left turn, going down Amend Street and coming back around and going down. But it's something to hopefully keep that movement from happening in the middle of the intersection. You'll also note that there's a break in the lane separator there. The person that owns that property there has a secondary driveway at that location. Next slide, please. We heard some concerns about vehicle speeds at McDonald as parents are leaving Man Drive and turning left and heading down McDonald Drive. We think that putting this glue down or stick down mini traffic circle at that intersection will help to kind of control speeds and better regulate the flow of vehicles through there. We also, you notice the red lines. I apologize for them being very dim in this image, but again, that's the shoulder striping that really separates the parking area from the travel lane to hopefully guide drivers that it's a 10-foot lane. They don't have this big wide corridor that they can speed down. Next slide, please.
Okay, thank you, Robert. This is a proposal that Robert and his team has prepared, and we can actually have a workshop and have comments, receive feedbacks. Our next steps would be to discuss in this meeting, and once we get all the feedbacks, and even some people have asked if they can comment later if they couldn't attend this, and I have told them that they can send their feedback by email to me. So once we receive all the feedback, we will refine this plan, and then we'll finalize our improvement plan, prepare a cost estimate. Once we have that, then we'll propose the final plan to the council, obtain their approval for funding, and we hope to implement the improvements in early 2024. So if we have further discussion by residents, I can go back to any slide you want, and you can go ahead and talk about it.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm wondering what's the intention, or what would be the best driver behavior? For example, if a parent is on Appian Way and they turn onto Man, they're driving down Man, they can't turn left into that pickup drop-off zone because there's those delineators. So is the intention that they would keep on going down to the intersection of Man and McDonald and do a U-turn around that roundabout and then come back so that they're going the proper direction to go into that pickup drop-off? Is that kind of the
Yes.
ideal?
Or they can actually come on Marlesta,
Marlesta.
go up, and
Okay.
come up in that direction.
Okay, so those are the two ideal
Yeah.
behaviors.
Yes.
Okay.
So that, I mean, if they drop off their kids on the other side of the main drive, the kids can actually walk and cross. That's another idea. Yeah. Have any comments you would like to talk? Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, I'm really puzzled by, I was at
Can-
the meeting on.
Can we have you go up on the microphone for the,
Thank you. Yeah, I was at the meeting on July 26th, and I noted here in your summary, you said full-time no parking on Man Drive at the school will encumber the neighborhood. And that was brought up by many people. And yet in your plan, you are going to limit parking from 7 to 9 and 2:30 to 3:30, which in effect is doing functionally the same thing, because people, we talked about this, and I've sent many memos to the TAPS committee. I even submitted a petition signed by many people on Man Drive. I live right across the school from Man Drive. And in effect, what you're doing is we still can't park there, because you're going to, are we going to get out and move our cars from 7 to 9 and 2:30 to 3:30? It doesn't make any sense to me. People raised there's very limited parking on Man Drive. They've already white curbed the whole area across from where I live. They've red curbed long sections of Man Drive. So there's very limited parking now available on Man Drive. And what you're doing now, you even stated in the meeting that people were concerned about that. And yet you're limiting parking. You're doing exactly the opposite of what people requested. So I don't know how, I just want to know what the rationale for that was. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of having this conversation. I mean,
it seems so obviously counter to what the concerns we raised, and you turn around and propose something exactly counter to what the concerns people raised.
Well, there are people that had the opposite opinion as well, is that is where the drop off is occurring. There were people that didn't want no parking there, but there are people that said that's where the drop off occurs. And that historically is where the drop off has occurred.
It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, there are two perspectives. Let me say, okay, say the residents are not parking in, so other people will park at that location. They will drop off their kids, and the kids will walk on the sidewalk to cross. So that would create that conflict, whether the residents park or a parents park to drop off. So the idea behind this was to really, if we restrict parking during that time, maybe it will be better. So people can be kids can be dropped off, and for that particular time, it would be safer. That was the idea. But we are open to suggestions and here.
We live there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You're talking about, a very limited time. And it's going to create a problem. I mean, there's a lot of renters there. There are people who have 3 cars associated with their household. Where are they supposed to park? Where are they supposed to park? You've totally limited parking on Man Drive. It's a joke. Where are we supposed to park?
I think this is an opportunity for public comment and not necessarily a town hall forum and a back and forth. So if we can continue on to, if someone else has comments, I think that it's appropriate to move on. I think we certainly understand your position. And like I said earlier, I live over there, I walk there, all that stuff and your comments are noted, and they've been noted in your emails and your petition that you sent around. So we thank you for that effort and all the time and energy you put into that. But I think I'd like to see what other people have to say. Thank you.
Hi, Allison. I live in the neighborhood as well. In fact, almost next door to that crosswalk. I do want to thank everybody for all the hard work that went into getting this together. It's not easy to do a quick turn, I think, from the original plan. So I'm happy to see this development. I had to take my daughter to the restroom, so I might have missed the rationale behind the red curb. So maybe if at some point we can go over that a little bit more, and the rationale behind maybe the extents of the red curb. It looks like there's probably some for visibility to make sure that at the crossing that there's enough space to see people. But then the extent of it down the rest of the roadway, if it's red curb, then it's not really supposed to be used for drop off either. And what that means, because legally no one's supposed to be stopping there at all. And if it's being used, the original plan that was proposed, say 6 months ago, showed that it was, I think it was an unofficial red drop-off zone, which I thought was a little disingenuous. So I'm glad, I'd be happy to have visibility improvements, but I want to make sure that we're doing it legally, and we're not saying it's a drop-off zone and red curbing. Other than that, I'm very happy to see the improvements being proposed.
Hey, I think that on that diagram, red is maybe a unfortunate choice of color, but I think that red stripe is supposed to separate the parking from the movement lane, not a red curb, no parking zone.
I'm seeing a
So the idea was the parking area here serves as an informal drop-off zone during pickup and loading.
And so
it will not be a red curb.
It's not going to be.
It's not a no parking zone. It's a loading zone. It's a white zone.
Okay. Okay. So not a red curb, no parking.
No.
White curb, if I'm understanding, or a green curb.
Right. And you're not supposed to park there like at the airport.
Okay. I think, maybe having the diagram not be red would probably assist some with that. The other, so I'd be interested in seeing how far that extends, and that may assist with some of his concerns as well. I'll continue. It sounds like it's not a town hall style.
Yeah.
So I'll continue just with public comment. The other thing that I bring up as an aside is that I think I'm curious about why this portion of the roadway is in as poor of a condition, considering to either side, it's actually in really good condition. It's been slurry sealed or repaved fairly recently. The gutters are starting to fall apart a little bit more recently, and with the rains coming up, I'm hoping that this project, when it does go out, it includes, if not a full slurry seal paving, at least some patch paving along the gutter, just to make sure that the road holds up.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Gus Creo. I also live in the immediate house across from the school. So appreciate the clarification and all the effort regarding the curb and increasing visibility. So one of the key things, going back to the slide about feedback from the community, the increased visibility is great, but there was quite a bit of public comment during the workshop about increased traffic speeds because of how wide Man Drive appears to be. So I would just throw that kind of bit of knowledge into having this drop-off zone. You will potentially see increased speeds. We see a lot of fast cars moving through there already. So having that elevated pedestrian crosswalk, I think is a great way to deter that. But if you were to zoom out, I think it was the second slide, Sanjay, if you wouldn't mind. Yeah, so if you were to zoom out there and look at the way that curve happens, there is a kind of a blind curve. So by the time you get to the crosswalk, you're not going to see it, and hopefully the additional school signage covers that. But my point being is, you're going to have increased vehicle speeds much more ahead before you even get to that first crosswalk. So I think there was some feedback regarding an additional crosswalk in that area. I did see the slide about the additional signage. I didn't see anywhere in the presentation about having just your traditional, this is a school zone, 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. I've assumed that that's going to be in there, but that may be good to include. And then in general, I'd be interested in just reading the memo that was prepared as part of the traffic study, if you will, that was done. I think that's valuable for the community because it provides a bit more insight than maybe this meeting affords. The last comment I'll have about the presentation, if you go to the delineators slide real quick, I think it's the next one. Nope, one more. There we go. So I did see that the city of Pinole brought out some cones. I thought that was a great thing. And I believe after the small cones were run over, some larger standard traffic cones were brought out. I regularly, when I come home, I come back and I set them back in place because they do get knocked off. So just to, again, point for consideration, I do appreciate the gaps as someone that lives across the street and has to take that left turn across. What I would just point out is right now those cones extend about the gap that's right in front of 1562. That's how far the cones extend. And it's been lovely to watch people just slow down as they approach and then cut across through that small gap. And so I think you will find that there's a lot of times that cars are going in the opposite lane. And that's not something that you can necessarily engineer a control for without significantly impacting residents. So I go back to Robert's comment about trying to get enforcement. And I think somebody else from the committee mentioned about trying to get PD to participate in this meeting. But there was about 2 weeks after our July meeting that the PD was there, and traffic along with pedestrian safety was vastly improved as a result of that. So I would just encourage you to pursue that option as well. That's all I have. Thank you for your time.
Hello, thank you. I'm Rochelle Morrissey. I'm a parent of 2 children at West County Mandarin School and the former PTA president. So I'm here to kind of represent at least one of the 2 school communities. I think I appreciate the proposal. I think it doesn't completely address some of the concerns that our school community has brought up, both at the meeting and from what I've heard from speaking to at least our school principal. I think that, as a lot of people have said, I think it would help to have better synergy between the city of Pinole and the school district. Just in terms of a couple of things, it kind of seems like with this proposal, I agree with what somebody who called in said. I don't think the school was well designed. It was not designed to have 2 separate school communities dropping off. It was intended to be one school, Pinole Middle School, which now it's 2 separate schools with separate drop-offs times and separate drop-off locations. I have a few concerns if you put your presentation up there. One is that we've brought up before, this has one raised crosswalk, which it looks like, is this correct? It's going to go at the farther of the entrances to the parking lot, but not the closer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, because one concern is that the 2 schools have 2 separate doors. That is going to work for the middle school kids. You don't have a crosswalk on the other. The exit is basically where West County Mandarin School's entrance is. So now what's going to happen, I can tell you, is that all of the elementary school kids are unfortunately going to be, if you're creating, it sounds like what you're now going to do is create a drop-off zone on the other side of Man Drive, which there never has officially been one. And I'm not sure if the schools actually even want that either. Right now, the idea that our school is told is you're supposed to go on Marlesta, turn in, come in, go, you're supposed to drop off on Man Drive in that white zone. The only people that are supposed to go into the parking lot are the parents of kindergartners. I don't think Pinole Middle School is told quite as elaborate of a traffic plan, and I don't think all of our parents follow it. I fully admit that they're not all perfect angels. But I worry now you're kind of going to make an official drop-off zone on the other side of Man Drive and tell people to not go into the parking lot at all. Is that, I mean, I'm surprised to hear that, frankly. So, I mean, I guess if you're really going to be having 2 drop-offs on Man Drive, I know it's expensive, but we really would want another second raised crosswalk, because right now, I hate to say it, as you guys have already said, a lot of the parents in the morning are busy. I don't think our parents are going to walk all the way down to that raised crosswalk and all the way back down to our entrance. They're going to be jaywalking with, young kindergartners who are the ones that we're the most concerned about. So I don't think this completely addresses some of our concerns from that standpoint. And I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for our principal or school community, or I don't know if you've spoken to Mr. Freeze and some of the WCCSD facilities. Do we really want a second, to have the other side of Man Drive made to be a drop-off zone? Is that the best plan? Has it been thought about, can we make Man Drive no left turn? Can you try to change, Man Drive has that left turn lane. Can you say no left turns between 7 to 9 and, whatever it is, 2 to 3:30, so that everybody is if you're going to have a stop sign, a stoplight at Marlesta, I hate to say it for what it means to the other part of the neighborhood, but in my opinion, I think it makes sense, make everybody go to Marlesta and drop off on the one way of Man. A lot of the traffic issues that seem to be created are by people turning left on demand and then trying to turn that left turn into the school parking lot. That's where a lot of the problems, everybody agrees, are being created, and why we're having to put these cones and everything in the middle to stop that left turn into the parking lot. So why not try to make Man Drive make everybody going to both schools go one way, going on Man Drive towards Appian for wet drop off and pickup? I think that would make things go better than make the second side of Man Drive that's going to make the neighbors upset. I think from our school's perspective as well, we have spoken before, then to help with that, we'd rather have, make Man Drive no parking, make a right turn lane, change the turn lane coming out of Man to make, a right turn lane, have 3 lanes right at the light so that there'd be an easier turn. If you're going to do that, I get it, it'll back up traffic back onto Man, but this proposal doesn't include putting a right turn lane on Man Drive that's been brought up several times. I guess I'm interested to hear why that didn't happen. And I guess my final point is that I did email with the mayor and with the police chief after the final meeting, just saying that from our school's perspective, we've been there now. This is our third year, that we really would like to see some sense of urgency on this, that it is true our school is growing. We're now up to 450 kids. Pinole has 400, so it's almost 850 kids at this site. It's year 3, and I know people were saying the school, Pinole Middle School, has been there 50 years, and this has been going on 50 years, but it just seems like from our perspective, we'd like to see this continuing to move on with a clearer time frame of getting things done. We've been talking for quite some time, and we're hoping to see things done definitely before next school year, at least, to get them done. And I did talk to the police chief about how do we get more enforcement, and they agreed to come for 2 weeks. They said they don't have funding to come for beyond that. Unfortunately, if our school district is a mess and is in quite a financial bind, they've been cutting back the supervisors, the yard supervisors, who are the ones that our school has been providing to help with the traffic calming. So we just don't have as many. The school district doesn't seem to have money to provide help. Your police chief is saying they don't have money to provide traffic help. So then it kind of leaves the school and the neighborhood in a bind of that. Who do we get? They were saying like get parent volunteers. But of course, as we know, every parent is busy. The only thing we could come up with was asking about traffic cadets, which we hear the city of Pinole Police Department has. So how can we talk about, like, can we make a program with Pinole Middle School to get traffic cadets? Like, what options are there if everybody's low on funding to try to improve the situation? Because I agree that both our parents and the police think that having more people on site out there helps, but nobody has any money for it. So, okay. Thank you for all my points.
Yes.
I think this idea of trying to use Marlesta, especially with the new traffic signal going in, as a way to use it as a larger traffic circle, essentially, I think is a great idea. And I appreciate the school's PTA's support of the local neighborhood too, and their attention to impacts. One of the things I will bring up too is that with 2 schools, it's definitely more traffic, but also historically people have walked more, even in these kind of suburban areas. Kids used to walk to school more, and so I don't think it's fair to say it's. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm agreeing with you on that. So we're increasing traffic over the last 50, 80 years since the school was originally built because people are walking less. And then number 2 is both the middle school and a countywide school is going to, of course, require more transportation needs. I did not notice that we just looked at the plans just now. I did not notice that this was only for the one crossing, and I am disappointed to see that. Because the place where and I brought this up in the meeting, is that half the year, including right now, if you go at 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun shines right at you when you're at the second entrance or exit. Not this one. It's the other one where it's very, very scary. It completely blinds you as you're rounding the corner. And it's exactly where all of the youngest students are crossing the street. And it is exactly where people are jaywalking quickly out of the private parking lots across the street behind very dense trees. So there's the contrast of lighting that only adds to the lack of safety at that crossing. And so I absolutely support the need for 2 crosswalks here. And if there is a way to do, as the other person suggested, of limiting left turns during pickup and drop off, I think that's ingenious, especially with the new signals going in down the street. Thank you.
I just have one more comment. I again want to thank all the work that has been done. There are some serious problems that need to be addressed. I actually felt like you cut me off. I was trying to talk, and you let other people talk much longer than I did. So I'm not sure why you cut
There
me
is no
off.
time limit. You can talk.
No, that's okay. I just feel like you cut me off and you let other people talk much, much longer. Here. And there were other concerns raised, but the one I raised too about having 2 drop-off zones. You already have 1 drop-off zone. That should be used on the front of Pinole Middle School. And I feel like you're being dismissive of the neighborhood's concerns about parking. So, and I'm not going to stop my concerns. I'm going to continue because there are many other people in the neighborhood who are concerned about parking other than myself. I'm not just talking for myself.
Robert, can I ask a few questions?
Sure.
I wasn't able to attend the meeting, so I'm just trying to get an idea in my head. So the way you've laid out this plan, the idea is we don't want people coming down Man Drive from Appian and turning left. You want them to go down the end of Man to the roundabout, come back up, and then I'm not sure if they're supposed to pull into the actual drop-off zone or pull in front of the school to drop off.
So can I explain that a little bit? Okay. So we have done some work with the school previously. So the school inside their facility, they have a drop-off zone right here inside. Okay. And when we discussed with school previously, they actually requested us that this on Man Drive that we create a drop-off zone, and we striped this and made that a drop-off zone on Man Drive itself.
So they don't want cars going in to the parking lot.
I mean, people, yeah, they don't want left turn into the parking lot. They're okay to people come and right turn into the parking lot and drop off. That is okay.
So they would have the drop off, then the actual pull in front of the school and what you just created out on the street.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So some kids can get dropped off on Mon Drive. They can walk the sidewalk there and go to the school. And some smaller, I think the kindergartners, most of the parents probably like to go inside. They would, they're wanting to force them not to left turn from Mon Drive to the school where they drop off, rather go up, make a turnaround, then come inside, drop off, then get out from the other driveway exit.
And they only turn right.
Right. Yes.
Coming out.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yes.
So, but it sounds like from what this one woman has said that it wasn't taken into consideration about where students from the Mandarin school are coming in and out. This is really only designed for middle school kids. Is that correct?
Sort of. I mean, the issue is that there's only one, when you look at most of the other K-8 schools that have been built, they have 2 separate drop-off pickups. This unfortunately has only the one parking lot. So both of our schools' doors are inside this one parking lot. They're just on separate sides. So the entrance for Pinole Middle School is at the where you're putting the first crosswalk. Our entrance is at basically the
Further down here.
and same parking lot.
The exit.
Exit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're saying people won't cross?
If people are there, I'm saying that if people are running late and you only have one race, if you're making a drop-off zone on the other side of Man Drive, which I don't think we had talked about that before this meeting. But right now, we are definitely heavily using the drop-off zone that is currently striped. That's great. Most of our school and Pinole Middle School is using it. If you create a drop-off zone on the other side of Man Drive where the houses are, where the school is not, then you're going to tell parents, you drop off your kid there, they're supposed to cross the street. But that's going to say to our parents, you have to walk let's say you're way at the end, that their kids are supposed to walk all the way up to this crosswalk, cross, and then all the way back down to our school. if they're running late, the reality that's going to start happening is this is even going to encourage even more jaywalking for the youngest kids. Like if they're dropped off close to the exit to this parking lot without another raised or any sort of crosswalk, they're just going to start jaywalking across, and the people that are trying to leave the drop-off zone on Man Drive that's on the school side are going to be, driving away. So that's gonna be
Well, I kind of feel like, you know what, parents, everyone is busy. You gotta do what you gotta do to get your kid to school safely and not encourage, well, I'm here, I'm gonna drop you off here and you're gonna get to jaywalk because I don't have time to walk you down to the crosswalk. I kind of feel like, you know,
saying, but you're now creating a drop-off zone where you're saying parents can't park.
Could-
So how are
but
you
we, but
to be sending their 7 and 8-year-olds, tell them to walk by themselves all the way down
Well,
and back?
well, that's the idea of putting, which I was not getting, that you were proposing it to be a drop-off zone on the other side of Man. I don't get that at all.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
Let me just clarify. Can we go to the next? Let's go up. Up one more. Okay. So I think we all agree in the ideal world, parents would drop off their children on the school side.
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that. We all agree in a perfect world, parents or the school district would have some sort of an approach where they would allow cars to come in here, they facilitate loading and unloading. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. The problem we were faced with when we first started this was parents weren't following the rules, and they were turning left off of Appian onto Man Drive. They were stopping either in the travel lane or they were stopping in the parking area or in people's driveways and dropping kids off. And kids were crossing the road, not here, they were crossing at any place in this, and that created a huge conflict with it. So this is not.
The wireless microphone, please.
I'm sorry. So the idea behind this was, in a world where we don't have police or we don't have a school district that has personnel to sort of support this, we were trying to create another drop-off approach where we could channel children along a sidewalk and at a designated crossing zone into the school. So this was not supposed to be the primary thing. This was just supposed to be a way that we could help alleviate and ameliorate the condition that's happening there today. And ideally, 90% of the kids would be dropped off here. And it's those 10% or 15% or whatever is happening on this side. And the hope would be there'd be a program in place that would help coordinate this activity. And that's the whole idea behind this. It's not to shift the parking here because we know that this is a problem for the neighborhood, but it's happening today. What are we doing today to help alleviate that condition? So that's the reason why. And the second point is that, I think a second crossing at this location, I think it just reinforces the concept of poor behavior. And I think it also creates another crossing along a street, which I'm not sure we really want to encourage. We really want this activity here.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived there and I've observed what's going on. And I just reiterate what other people said. People are that's what they're doing now. They stop there on the other side of Man Drive, and they're not going to go down to that crosswalk. They're just going to cross the street. That's what they're doing now, and that's what they'll continue to do unless there's somebody there enforcing it. So I don't, I think this all sounds really great on paper, but I just don't see it. They're going to stop there and the kid's going to cross right there. I don't think they're going to go down to the crosswalk. Maybe they will, but that's not what they're doing now. And there's a crosswalk there now. So I don't see that as really working. And also, the concerns I raised also go with what Rochelle said, that we should be funneling people down. There's already a drop-off zone, and that's what should be used.
like creating another, if you had a limited drop-off zone there, I could see that maybe being okay. But you're going to eliminate all the parking that's left there, basically on Man Drive. And what's going to happen is all the people who park there, not only residents, but people who work at the school park there as well. So all those, it's just going to create a domino effect. You're going to push all those people down and have them parking further down Man Drive, away from their houses. So it's just going to have a domino effect. Everybody who's parking there now is going to park further down. Those people are going to get pushed out, and they're going to get pushed down further down Man Drive. And I've raised all these concerns in my memos and so forth. Go ahead.
Thank you, Louis. So two things. One is I'm hearing that there is an existing condition and we should improve the condition for the drop off by cars. But the pedestrians, there's an existing problem and we're going to force them to do something different. I don't know if you caught that. He said, for the cars that are dropping off on the north side or the house side of the street, well, they're already doing that. So we need to improve the condition. But for the pedestrians who are already crossing the street, well, we just have to force them to do something different. And I don't think that's fair.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, we can go back. We have a recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure that when we're talking about, are we making things, are we changing things for drivers? Or are we changing things for pedestrians? And which one we're focusing on?
Well, I mean, so the question is that it makes sense to have a mid-block pedestrian crossing that's safe for folks.
Sure.
So the question is, where should that be?
Why one? When pedestrians are already crossing at the other location.
Because here's so this is the psychological component of it, right? I'm not sure, for the reasons this gentleman mentioned, we want to really encourage a lot of people to be dropping off and parking on that side of the street. So the question is if we add more mid-block crossings along this street, is that going to encourage more behavior like that?
My second point that I didn't have a chance to get to is that, so you're saying we don't want to encourage people to cross the street, yet we are doing a if you build it, they will come solution by adding to the locations where people can double park and drop off their kids across the street. I think there needs to be more focus on what the intent here is and more drilling into making sure that you're consistent in what your approach is. You're saying that for parking, we are going to build them a spot to drop off on the opposite side of the street, where they're already doing so. Agree. But pedestrians who are already jaywalking, we're not going to build them another crossing, even though that's the primary point where jaywalking occurs by students. And that is at direct odds.
So I'll just kind of reiterate it a different way, because your comment was, we don't want to add another crosswalk because we're going to promote the behavior, which is fair and understandable. But by creating another drop-off zone, you're giving everyone the blessing to continue the behavior that they're doing, which is dropping them off on the north side of, I'm going to say that's north because of the picture, north side of Man Drive. So understand your logic, but it is very circular. And I'm not sure who mentioned it, but if you wanted to limit the drop-off zone, adding another crosswalk closer to Appian facilitates that, so it forces people to get in and get out. It narrows your strip. So that's all.
And I just want to be clear. I don't have an opinion about one or two crosswalks. I'm interested in hearing. I'm interested in. I've heard what the problem is, right? But again, I'm not sure that any of this is going to solve it unless there's somebody out there every morning helping facilitate this.
That's agreed. No one's.
Yeah. So two crosswalks. I'm not against that. I just want to be really clear about that. But it's a joint effort.
Yeah, I think I want to reiterate, I think from the school side, we would agree with the neighbors on this, that I think if you create if you create a drop off, basically a second drop off zone with white parking on this house north side, you're just going to make the problem probably worse, not better, unless you create another crosswalk closer to Appian Way. I would really like to see if we can go back to the discussion about, could we talk about making Man Drive more like almost one way in the morning at drop off and pickup times, pushing people to Marlesta where you've put your new traffic light in, to think about that. And then the other thing, like you guys have said, the pronged approach, I think, as everybody said, how can we get the police here? How can we talk about options to have more people in place? Because we are in complete agreement with the neighbors. Anytime that I wish our parents and Pinole Middle School's parents would abide by traffic rules. But as we've all said, like, it happens, even the best parents in the morning, like, you're running late, you're running behind, and then bad behavior happens. When someone is there to enforce the traffic, it makes things go so much smoother for both schools, for the neighborhood, for Pinole, for everybody. So how can we facilitate that? How can we help Pinole and the school district look together for grants for, like, talking about traffic? Apparently there are traffic cadets. So how can we get cadets, somebody out there on a more consistent basis to help facilitate better behavior on everybody's part, so that everybody's happier, the neighbors, the school, parents? How do we make this work?
Robert, wouldn't there also be a concern about the second crosswalk in too close a proximity to a signalized intersection? And because I don't have a picture here, I'm trying to envision just from memory, taking my daughter to school, where it would go, and would that second crosswalk that's closer to Appian, is that then going to impede the flow of the people using the drop off? Like the new one that they created right out on the street, like, are you going to put a crosswalk right in front of where these cars are trying to leave? They've dropped off their kids and now they want to go. I don't have a good visual in my head about where that would be.
I think there's right. I think we're all talking about sort of the same thing, and I think they work together, right? So I think there's a place where you could put that second crosswalk. I think the loading and unloading zone would have to be sized so that you didn't have tons of kids crossing at that location and having lots and lots of congestion, like what you're saying, to worsen the condition. But I also think there's another question that I think when we talk about converting Man Drive to operating in almost like a one-way operation, and we shift vehicles down Marlesta, the question then comes to what does our community on Marlesta and those other streets think about this? So I think that gives me pause. And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's a complex problem.
Just a quick clarification, because I don't think I saw you at the July meeting, but when we were at that meeting, the second crosswalk that was suggested by the community was closer to the on the opposite side of where the vehicles leave the school parking lot, to keep it some distance away from the intersection, closer to where because there's another pedestrian gate in that general area. So if you look at in the exhibit that was prepared, the crosswalk that's being recommended is in front of the pedestrian gate on the entrance side of that parking lot. And so it was discussed to put it over in that region on the exit side.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. You're right. It would kind of create an issue that there's a decent enough distance, I think, from Appian, but yes, it would be a little bit of an issue to have it there. The only other issue is that because now of school safety concerns, the school district has to lock the gates, all gates. The only gate that's open is the pedestrian gate at the exit, where there wouldn't be a crosswalk. So, I mean, hopefully most of the drop off and pickup would be done when the gates should be open, but the gates are locked to the school from like 9 to 2 or something like that. So you'd be creating a crosswalk where it's going to be locked most of the day would be the only other thing to think about by not putting a crosswalk. The gate that they do leave unlocked is the one at the exit. And actually you do have the hours wrong. Our school gets out of school at 2:05. So for the hours that you're proposing for having no stopping on Man Drive, you'd need on the north side, the house side, you don't have it long enough to include the hours that would work for our school.
Okay, we're going to allow the committee members now to. Oh, there's an online speaker. Okay,
Yeah.
then Sanjay, if you want to do that,
Okay,
and then we'll.
Dave, can you let Julie speak?
Hi, thank you for letting me speak again. This is Julie Bardenhagen, Pinole Middle School parent. I just wanted to thank you for the comprehensive plan, and I agree with all of the other speakers that the crosswalks are so essential. Last year, the Pinole Middle principal got together with people and made his own crosswalk, and it worked, and it just disappeared this year after summer. I did want to say one thing, though. This plan has to be even more dramatic. There are condos that are opening at Appian and Van. Has anyone talked about this? Has everyone, City of Pinole knows this. Huge development right across the street there. Just wait until that opens. The traffic is going to be even worse. So this plan is great, but it has to be even more dramatic. That there's a dead parking lot in Pinole Middle School that no one uses, that is empty during drop-off and pickup. I'm talking bulldozers, open it up, figure out a new route. In a year, it's going to be even worse. The Mandarin School is going to add another grade. They added another grade this year. We're going to be over 1,000 kids in a year. So this is a great, I would say, preliminary plan.
Thank you. Okay, committee members can discuss further on this. Do you want me to put the presentation up?
All right, thank you. I want to thank everybody for their comments. I know that there's been a number of meetings over the years, and I've experienced this. I had 3 children go through Pinole Middle. My last one graduated there 3 years ago. So thank God I'm not sitting in that traffic and doing that, but my wife and I did for 6 years. And so I'm very familiar with this and the drop off, and not as recent as the Mandarin School being there, but still quite an issue. And it was an issue back then, 3 years ago when we are last graduated. But this is obviously an issue. It's going to be an issue of compromise. I am, let me just put it out front. I'm not in favor of eliminating any residential parking, whatever final plan gets proposed to City Council. I don't think eliminating residential parking is desirable to the residents, and that's kind of where I stand at this point. I think that we do need to get some more buy-in from the school. I think optional drop-off areas should at least be discussed by the school, including areas in over by McDonald's and the Doctor Center back there. A stairwell going up to the school could be an option. I think that a Safe Routes to School grant needs to be explored either by the school or by the city as an option to help fund maybe an alternate drop-off or entryway into the school on the backside or on the field side there. I think that it was brought up that staggered start times, it sounds like, are already happening. Maybe not. I think that's something that we, or at least I would need some more information on. I do agree that limiting the left turn from Appian onto Man during school drop-off and pickup times is a viable option, especially with the signal light going in at Marlesta. And then I do think that there are opportunities for the police department to conduct enforcement around all the city schools. And it's just a matter of priority and what the police department in the city prioritizes as far as safety goes and how they direct their resources. I think all police departments in the Bay Area are understaffed and have challenges with providing services. But I think that there's a school resource officer, and I think that there's an opportunity there where that school resource officer could provide traffic, at least be out there during pickup and drop off to try and help out. And the last caller that talked about the housing across the street at the old doctor's medical offices center is going to be a significant impact. And hopefully none of those people will be driving across the street. But I think that we need to consider how we're going to move kids across Appian during school hours in a safe way. There's a light there. The crosswalks are pretty well identified. I walked my kids to school that way and it seemed to work okay. But like I said, I think this is going to be about compromise. And I don't think that we should be eliminating residential parking in this plan. Even if it's temporary during school hours or anything like that. I think that when people decided to buy a house there and rent there, they didn't anticipate having their parking eliminated because the school district decided to add another school on that campus. It was built for one campus. So the school's got to take on some of this burden. I don't think this is necessarily entirely a city burden. So I think the school needs to come up with maybe a different drop-off area or something else to give us a hand. And I think the last caller kind of nailed it. There's a huge lot there that has basketball courts and stuff in there. And we need to put some emphasis on the school to have them come up with part of this solution, which is open up that area to the east of the campus property there as an area to create more drop off. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one. It sounds like we're not clear. We don't have a clear idea on how we want people to behave. Sounds like ideally people would be dropping off and picking up on the south side of Man Drive. So it seems a little counterintuitive to maybe create a pickup drop off on the north side and encourage people to do what you don't want them to do. I heard talk early on about encouraging people to turn onto Marlesta and make Man Drive kind of one way, which would fit with how that pickup drop off was designed. But then you mentioned like the people that live on Marlesta, how are they going to respond? I guess we don't have a clear idea. Even if we could make everybody behave according to some design, we don't really have a clear idea of how we would want all that traffic to move through there. Would we want everyone to go through Marlesta? I don't know. It seems like you're just pushing the problem into another part of the neighborhood. So I don't know.
Yeah, I just maybe by next meeting, I'd like to know if using the basketball court area as a pickup drop-off zone was proposed or discussed, and if not, suggest that it be. So I think that a huge percentage of the problem would be addressed by moving the congestion onto campus in a safe place. So I'm glad that was brought up here, and I'd like to see what we need to do to get that considered in the planning.
Yeah, just to answer your question, no, it was never discussed. School never brought it up, and we never investigated. So
I'll just add my 2 cents worth. The whole idea of the roundabout is just kind of makes my stomach go squiggly, but I understand how it would meet the need of getting people down to the end, turning them around so that they could properly enter into the drop-off areas. And I will just say that I've seen these low roundabouts all over the Bay Area, and people just drive right over them. They don't go around them. They just, if they want to go straight, they just drive on top of them because they're so flat and there's no damage to the vehicle. So that we might need to consider doing something so that that doesn't seem like an appealing option, which just, makes that whole idea not worth anything anyway. And the idea of the delineators would seem like they would do the trick of keeping folks from making left turns where we don't want them. They're not the prettiest thing in the world. And as long as the folks who live there can get in and out, have easy, egress in and out of their driveways and so forth. However, we know, right, because we're talking about people with their bad behavior, we know people are going to take advantage of those breaks and they're still going to do what they're going to do. But if we had someone out there, helping a little bit, maybe that would help deter that. And the raised crossing, I think, is a really good idea to do the tabletop crossing. My question would be, Robert, instead of just having the pedestrian is going to activate the beacon, correct? But it's just going to be the flashing yellow around the yellow diamond sign, correct? Could we not put in a modified, a true pedestrian signal, a red light? There's a red light that comes on when there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk, because I was hearing people talking about, people aren't stopping. I can't imagine during drop off and pickup, though, that people would run the crossing, but I'm sure there people are. But if there is a red light, it's no longer suggested that you stop. You're obligated to stop. So I'm just throwing that out there in terms of being a true pedestrian activated signal that obviously would rest in green if there's no pedestrians activating, the button. And I would like to reiterate too, I'm not in favor of making the housing side drop off. It just seems like it would work against what they're trying to do on the school side. It seems like those efforts would be more fruitful. And I have a mixed feeling about the secondary crosswalk, because I would really like to see where you're thinking about wanting it to go. And I'm also concerned about having another crosswalk so close to a signalized intersection, because the people who don't pay attention to the nice sign that says no left turn on demand during, morning and afternoon, they're just picking up speed coming around that corner. And then we have a crosswalk, just right after they've cleared the intersection. So I'm just putting that out there. And also I would just hope to any improvements you make to any crossings that they would have accessible pedestrian signals installed along with them. Thank you.
just to provide some perspective here, this particular intersection has a crosswalk because of the traffic intersection. This does have a crosswalk here. Some kids do use it. They get dropped up right around here. because there is a parking space here, get dropped off. They use this crosswalk, come here, and go to the school. Some kids do that, and in my mind, 3 crosswalk at such a small distance is too much. Uh, but anyway, I haven't, uh, you know, completely gone into the details to decide what we're going to do, and that's why this discussion is about. And when we said discussing previously with the school, this is always a concern. People are coming from inside, turning right or turning left, and the possibility of crosswalk here, which is right around the driveway opening for this. So this is, have a engineering challenge there, other than other stuff. So yeah, we'll look into it a little more deeply. But there are other obstructions, other difficulties for that. So okay, I mean it's a good discussion. We'll look into it a little more deeply. We'll refine these plans. I believe you wanted to say something. Yeah.
I think that we had, everyone had multiple times to provide feedback. I think that we need to, I think we need to wrap this up. We multiple times back and forth. I think email is probably the best way to preserve what your comments are. I totally support that and would like to see it. Our emails are on the agendas here, and of course, engineers' emails on there. I think that we thank everybody for their input, but we've been at this for a while, and I don't know how much more.
Could you just identify who you are? I'm not sure who is who on the committee. I just like to make sure I know who said what, or.
It'll be
in the minute notes.
No, but I mean, like, what is your name?
My name is Oliver Collins.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you all. I just did, because some people have name tags, but some people don't, so I didn't know.
These are not ours. No. These are for the city council.
Oh, yeah, okay, I see.
We don't have our own little pins.
So I just, it's hard to know who's who, that's all. I know Devin, but, or not Devin, I met you before, but I just didn't know your name.
This is Ben, Faith, Oliver, Kent, and Sanjay.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll conclude this meeting right now. Thank you. Yeah.
Are we
We'll
ready?
adjourn the meeting.
Yes, so we are adjourned until our next meeting on November 8th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.